Hello friends, my name is Doug and this is
Dale.
Welcome to the Third Stall Garage. This is going to be episode 52 of restoration of a 66 Beetle convertible named Hendrick. The body is there, the pan is down here, and this is going to be a fun episode for us. We're moving into new territory. Stick around, let's see how it goes. If you haven't watched last week's episode, I encourage you to check that one out. Last week, episode 51, we split the body off of the pan, built those door supports in there to make sure the body stayed stiff, and dropped the pan off the bottom. And it really went pretty slick. In general, Dale's going to be focusing on working on the body pan, prepping it to weld in a new floor pan, get it ready for paint and some repairs, some suspension work. I'm going to be working on the body. There are lots of small tasks that need to be done yet, and a couple medium-sized ones. The Napoleon hat, which is what we've always called this front part, has a couple huge patches that are missing that we need to work on, and then we will just start tackling a lot of little parts with the body. So I'm going to start there. Dale's going to get started over here, stripping things down and getting the axles out. While Dale's busy over there working on the rear transaxle, I lifted the body up on the hoist a little bit more so I can stand and work. And I am working on grinding these welds away to remove this patch and remove that patch to see what we find behind them, and then work on fabricating new patches for here and on the back side. So that's what I'm working on. Dale got the transaxle and the rear out, so body pan's getting better. I'm making progress on this patch. I'm using my, we wore out our Harbor Freight Baxter belt sander, so bought an Ingersoll Rand one. Seems a little heavier duty, and using an aggressive 3M, I think a 60 grit belt on it, and it makes fast work of digging through big welds. So this much of it is loose. Got to keep going here and here to get rid of all of it. Okay, both patches are off. Here's the beautiful work that somebody else did. Same thing on the other side. We can start to see, I'm assuming this area rusted out all at one time. So I think my task now is to clean all of that up, and then we can start figuring out what we need to do to try to make it look original. Also need to piece together a little bit of what is going on here. I think that this needs to swing down, so this ends up close to here. This is also where there was a whole bunch of caulk where the body to pan seal was. So it might make sense if this was high that didn't seal up. So got a little figuring to do there, but I would like to get it so that this original indentation in the pan looks right. Same thing on this side. So do a little cleanup and show you what it looks like. Progress update. Dale has the body stripped down quite a bit more. Front axle beams off. Rear transaxle, there we go, is out, and pulling out cables and stuff like that. So trying to find places to store stuff where it's semi out of the way. I've had a little bit of a slower progress night working on the front here. I'm trying to get a light in here for you. Cleaning up these welds, you know, looks decent in the camera. I keep reminding myself that this is buried beneath the gas tank and it's Dale's car, not mine. I was cleaning this up and ground it too thin, and then ended up welding up a little hole where I ground through here, and then realized that this was thin, and I ended up chasing that hole all the way over to here. And so this is kind of crappy. Not real happy with that, but it is what it is. And if we want to smooth it out with Bondo or something, we can. But this is at least down to the point where we can start figuring out the patches to make. The challenge that we're running into is this contour. Should this be down further? Is this up higher than it's supposed to be? And this contour doesn't match that contour at all. So we're at the end of our night tonight. I think what we're gonna do Thursday is, where Dale's measuring right now, we're gonna try to get a piece of thin plywood, and we're gonna make a mock template of that Napoleon hat, that arch. Bring that over here and hold it up to try to determine what this is supposed to be, because this is supposed to mate to that. So really, symmetrical doesn't matter, all of that doesn't matter, as long as this fits snugly to that. So that's where we're wrapping it up for tonight. Hope to get more progress done, but that's the way it goes. We do have an extra third stall night this week, so it's Tuesday right now. We'll be back Thursday, and would love to get more cleanup done on that and get these patches figured out and welded in. So, all right.
Just do it and it's done.
Yeah, we'll see you in a second or 2 days. Hey friends, back at it. It is Thursday night, extra third stall night for us. So I'm getting ready to fabricate some repairs for this. Used an official cutout template material, also known as a Cheez-It box, to trace out the piece that we need. Let it go quite long on the bottom where my hand is. Then transferred it to a piece of sheet metal. And this is the beginning for the patch there. And then similar on this side, traced it out, and here's my template for this side. And now I'm in the process of, just took a Sharpie and traced it, and I've begun cutting this out with an angle grinder with a cutoff wheel on it. So gonna work on prepping and fitting those while Dale's making a wood template. Dale, tell me how it's going.
Pretty good. You know, it's not that complicated. We're just cutting a hole out for the tunnel, and then I got to get it to sit all the way flat, and then we'll trace on this side. We'll be able to trace, and now we have that contour, and you can use that then to put right up into the space. People will see in a few minutes. It'll go fabulously.
Yes, exactly. So that'll help us figure out exactly what we need over there. All right. Looking nice, Dale.
Thanks.
Dale, good job making the wood template.
Thanks.
So the wood template is set in there. You can see there's just a slight gap between the wood and the Napoleon's hat. So that wood template is the shape of the body pan. So ideally, these would match up perfectly smoothly. And you can see that we have a good 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch of gap right there. So for some reason, we don't know why, seems like the heater channel is kind of canted upwards a bit. And this bolt was not installed, and this bolt was. And you can see how when they tightened it down, it kind of puckered that, the bottom of that, pulled it down. You can see that even more on this side where it kind of just pulled this whole edge down. But we have virtually the same thing on this side as well, where this gap is way too high. So that's one thing we need to fix, is this mounting surface needs to be flat to the tunnel, or to the Napoleon hat. And the second piece thing is that we need to fill, this surface needs to get filled in this missing gap. So how do we do that? That is a good question. I'm gonna go back around the other side and show you what we're thinking. Sorry, the heater's running in the background if it's a little loud. Sorry about that. So here's what we're thinking of doing. You can see how this is not parallel with that, and ideally it would be. So I think we are going to cut this right here, bend this down so it's parallel and flat with that. Then we will fill in the gap between this surface and this surface, and then weld the plate on it. Then we'll have to do the same thing on the other side. So basically taking this piece, which ideally the whole piece would rotate down a little bit, but that's way too firm. So we're gonna split it here and swing this edge down. Things are progressing nicely. So you can see that, cut this open. This gap right here, that box right there is the cage for the nut. So you can see the nut wiggling around in there. It's held captive in that cage. I had a problem on that side that Dale's working on, where I bent this cage up and now the nut wouldn't slide around anymore. So that took me a while to kind of unbend the cage. But this side is now sitting nice and flat and fairly flush with the contour of the Napoleon hat. This side's being a little bit more difficult. This is the first one. You can see how this kind of dives down. Well, this is low where we want it to be, but this is still too high. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna continue this relief cut around the corner a little ways so that I can bend this corner down and it will be square with this. So we'll cut, bend, and see if that works. I think that was the right choice. So cut back here, and this was able to split. I now have about a 3/16 gap there, which allows this to sit a whole lot more flush. So that's feeling better. This is looking pretty ugly, but it will clean up nice and I'll be covered. So Dale's working on a patch to go in here on both sides. We're getting there.
I don't know what I'm doing.
So we have made a lot of progress off camera, basically making 6 patches. So each of these, this one will weld in there, and then it goes too far out the back and too low out the front. So after we have it in where we want it, we'll contour those edges. the way we want. And then, I don't know which patch is which. But basically I'm gonna tack weld this guy in and then double check that this matches our template from the Napoleon hat. And if so, then we'll weld this guy in and contour it and then put the patches on the front and the back. We can also weld up this edge, and then the piece on the front will get edge welded, and then we can also put a couple holes along here and plug weld it too. So that will make everything nice and strong. And then there are a few previous owner things that can be patched up too. So I'll show you what it looks like once we start putting it together. All right, here's an update, friends. Finally feeling really good about it. So here is the bottom patch. It's tack welded in. Got a tack weld there. Dale's height on the other side.
Oops, sorry. Oh dear.
Oh,
Drama.
flashlight broke. But this gap is feeling much better compared to the big gap that was there before. This side similar. The gasket should fill that. So I think we are to the point where we can weld those in permanently. Then we need to grind this surface flush. Then we'll put a plate on here, grind this flush, put a plate on there, do the same on the other side, clean it up, and that should be good. All right, time to start welding it in and cleaning it up. All right, so we are wrapping it up for the night. The beetle is put away on the body dolly, which fits right over top of the body pan, which, good work, Dale, because that means I get to park my Jeep in the shop here. So Dale's underneath it, spraying some Eastwood internal frame coating inside the Napoleon's hat. I have the two front patches with holes drilled for plug welding hanging from the ceiling and a layer of weld through primer on it. And then next week we will begin the assembly of those right there and right there. So thanks for following along. Thanks for being part of Third Stall Garage. Dale, thanks for giving me my parking spot back. We'll see you next time. The end.